And now it's recording. Yeah.
How are we doing? Are we still recording?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So here we are. It's the Taylor School Health Protection Protocol. And I'm just going to go through this and I'm going to invite questions toward the end. So I'm wondering if folks could please take some notes of the things that are burning questions for you. And then we can take a look at that a little bit toward the end, when I don't think this is going to take too long. I have embedded a couple of videos that I think really help to bring the point home about how important it is that we are very, very specific and very, very regimented in our protocols. So without further ado, and there we go. So disclaimers. We're going to start with disclaimers. The fact is that we only know what we know right now. And there's new information coming out all the time about, I think I just heard something on NPR about how people who are asymptomatic are not contagious. It's all changing all the time. Basically, what we're going to do is use the best current information we have from the best sources that we have access to. And when there's a conflict between the two sources of information, we will rely on the most restrictive provision. And the reason why we do that is because we do have vulnerable people, and we do have teachers who are coming in and interacting with 10 little people in the space. And so since it is changing, and right now we're in this phase 2 situation, and the regulations are geared to that phase 2 regulation. I'll let you get that, Anju. That we are using the regulations we have now. That's not to say that they will not change. They may change, but I think that we're going to start where we are, what I'm going to describe to you, and then if it turns out that they loosen the restrictions, if they change them for some reason, it will be a discussion within our community. We won't all of a sudden just open the floodgates and whip off our masks and run through the yard. It's not going to be like that. So let's go to the next one. These are the sources of our information. We use CDC, the World Health Organization, the State Coronavirus Task Force, which is also connected to our licensing agent, the EEC. There is an organization, there's a legal and logistical insurance company that helps companies, schools, hospitals, lots of other institutions figure out how to manage situations just like this one. And we've been poring over their recommendations for private schools and public schools for a while, and some of their suggestions have helped us look at places that we may not have been looking before. Preschools in other parts of the world, including Taiwan and China, are ahead of where we are in terms of transmission control and addressing illness in the environment. So prevention is obviously the most important thing for us, and we are following some of the really creative, resourceful, and effective things that we're seeing other countries do. And the last resource for us is the Acton Boxborough, Harvard and Littleton Early Learning Council. And that is a cohort of all of the directors in this area so that we can get together and make sure that when someone has figured out a best practice and it aligns with the regulations and it aligns with CDC, that we're sharing all that information with each other, as well as the metrics around disease in our community and contagion in our community. And so we kind of try to keep our finger on the pulse of the bigger picture around CDC and the state. And then we also try to look at what's happening locally with us. and so that we have not just in our own little bubble, but also in the wider world. But the wider world has to be applied practically to things that are actually happening on the ground here. So next, I think we did that. Why we need to be so concerned about children. Well, aside from the fact that we want everybody to be healthy and we want all of our adults to be healthy, it's harder to do. Oh, that's not true. It requires a lot more planning, a lot more training, and a lot more protocols because we don't have all the information. It is not the end of something. We're really kind of in the end of the beginning of something in what we know about this virus. And we're not banking on any vaccination at this point, although we do hope it happens soon. We want something that works and that sticks or can treat people so that they can stay safe. Children are in close contact with other people. It's just natural and it's appropriate. Children with their caregivers, with each other, and they're also very curious and sensorial. They touch everything. They put everything in their mouths. And maybe for our older children, it becomes less and less that. But it happens. It's how we learn, is how we touch, how we see. It is intrinsic to Montessori to encourage children to use all of the tools they have at their disposal to take in the world and make sense of it, and then expand on their own experience and their own knowledge. But putting things in their mouths or touching something and then touching their face, that's something that their children, that's going to happen more probably here than any other environment. So they're not usually good yet, totally good yet with hygiene and self-care. They're learning that, and in Montessori, self-care is a very big focus for practical life, and that really works in our favor because it's something we already talk about. Children wear diapers, not so long at Taylor because children just sort of have this fire to get out of there and be with their older mentor children in the bathroom, engaging in toileting. But we also have kids who, in addition to, instead of wearing diapers, they're engaged in toileting and they're learning it, or they're pros and they're speeding through it. And it's the flash wash and the quick trip around the bathroom that is maybe not as messy, as neat as we would like it to be. Hi, Amy. They spend more time on the floor where germs collect. So when we talk, when there are germs, when there is shedding of virus, it's going to go down, and we're on the floor all the time. And they can have mild symptoms. They're so resilient, and we're not so much. So they maybe have a mild case and share it with someone who then shares it with someone who's much more vulnerable. And we have to watch out for all of our people, the ones that are in the school and the ones that are at home and the ones that have contact with the ones that are at home or at work. So, and let's see. So I'm going to play this because I think that it does capture the kind of commitment that we all have to make to having this be not only super effective, but also really positive. And it requires a lot of trust on everyone's part. So I'm just going to play this really quickly.
What's the most important message that you think parents with kids at preschool need to be aware of in light of this?
You have to close this and
Parents
then open
need
it
to
as a
know
separate one.
that we owe them a responsibility
Okay.
to maintain.
Can you remind me what that was, Anju?
You close this and then open that and then share it.
Oh, yes.
Separately, yeah.
Yep, I remember now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, oh boy. Thanks, guys. We seeing it now?
What's the most important message that you think parents with kids at preschool need to be aware of in light of this Fengshan casting?
Parents need to know that we owe them a responsibility to maintain high standards across all preschools. We have 400 operators running 1,900 preschools. And we owe it to parents to make sure that the measures we put in place are evidence-based, are precautionary, are sensible, are practically implemented on the ground, not just paper exercise, but on the ground they are being practically implemented. And that is why my colleagues at EGDA, myself, my colleagues at senior management and ministry have for the last few months been visiting preschools, visiting residential homes, visiting social services to see the measures for the various sectors and subsectors being implemented in those sectors on the ground, and giving support to our frontline colleagues, taking in feedback if they feel that any measure is not practical or they have difficulty implementing it because of some constraints in their particular center, making sure that we have this very close and active collaboration, right? And we want parents to know that, for many who have no alternative to childcare or no easy alternative to childcare, and they are needed at work and at the front lines, that we will continue to make sure the preschool sector maintains those standards and doesn't cause them to be worried like this.
The reason I like that is because that's what we are trying to do here.
I'm so excited because I got to go to New Zealand a few weeks ago, and
Somebody else can hear that.
I get to share that trip with you in our special week-long series, The Late Show.
Stephen Colbert presents.
Right? You know what I've been watching? Sorry, guys. Oh my. Okay, here we are. So this is from the document that I told you about from Cushman and Wakefield. And these are the areas that we have been addressing. Preparing the building, which is really important. Preparing our teachers. Making sure that the space is sacrosanct for the children and the teachers that are working in it. That we have a way of keeping everyone comfortably separate and still maintaining the quality of the reason we're here in the first place. Reducing all of the places that transmission can occur with super extra cleaning, rearrangement of furnishings and walls and how we move about in the space. That's going to be a little bit different. And how we all talk to each other. So being able to talk to each other about our concerns, to be able to talk to each other about the things that are happening at home or at work, and also to check in about how things are going at school and how it's affecting our children, our teachers, and our parents, so that we are all working together toward the making this super safe, super efficient, and letting the part that we're here for, which is going to school, really shine through. So here are our arrival procedures. We're going to be paying a lot of attention to healthy hand hygiene. So we're talking about washing, but doing it in a really positive way, not doing it in an alarmist way, in a way that, you didn't wash your hands. But it's actually, that's what we do. That's how we stay healthy, and that's how we help each other be healthy. Having social distancing strategies for adults and children. The TTS adults will be wearing a form of PPP. Actually, Margot found one that is not super ugly and super convenient, so that we can be covered and then leave all of our messy day here at school to be laundered and then putting it on fresh the next day. There is a requirement for children who can feasibly wear a mask. That's a little tricky. Some children will really resist and not be comfortable, and it can cause anxiety. It can cause really very uncomfortable feelings for some children, and some children are going to totally take it in stride and think it's kind of fun. So we will be providing disposable masks that are child size. And I've also, just like all the other PPP, we're getting a lot of samples in right now to find out what works the best, what's the most comfortable, what's the most practical, what's the most economical, and that last being on the bottom of the list because the other two are more important, the other two factors there. We're looking at a very light, very comfortable shield with a really soft elastic that might give children less of a feeling of having their face and their mouth and nose covered. But we're looking at all of it and trying to make sure that we have options so that we can maximize our coverage and our safety, even given the occasional child who really cannot tolerate wearing a mask. So parents will be dropping off and picking up outside only. Now that isn't super, super new for us because it's the children's house. That's why they call it the children's house in Montessori. But it is uncomfortable not to be able to come in once in a while. It is going to feel and look a little different than other years because we have a lot of gatherings here at the Taylor School. We have pumpkin parties and spring teas and all kinds of things. And we can't say right now how those are going to manifest. But what we can say is right now, we're going to have to find alternatives until we get to a point where we know it can be safely changed and when we have all discussed how that's going to happen together as a community. There won't be any backpacks. Everything your child needs will already be at school. Backup clothes, all that stuff. They'll be here, and if we need to send things home because they're soiled or wet, then or they have paint or bubbles soaked in them or the mud kitchen, folks who are coming back know all about the mud kitchen. Those are things that we may or may not be able to have in the space because of transmission issues, but backup clothes we'll be sending back and forth, but that's really the only thing that will go back and forth. Lunch bags, it's not our way, it's not great for the environment. I know that is true, and it hurts my heart to do this. However, at this point in the process, we're going to have to go with some things that are not perfectly ecologically responsible for the greater good. So disposable lunch bags only. Snacks at school will be the same healthy, wonderful snacks, but we will be using some all-natural, organic, prepackaged snacks. And then the children will not be involved in any other food preparation, which is such a joy for the children and the teachers in terms of practical life, but we're shelving that for now. And teachers will be the only ones who will be preparing individual and serving individual portions using all of the sanitary protocols in place that we've always had. Gloves, and in this case, masks and shields and all the things that we'll be wearing. So food will be a little bit different, but what you bring to school, no backpacks, no bags, no loveys, no toys, all that stuff. I'm excited to tell you about our greenhouse clean house. It actually just arrived and we're going to be assembling it soon. We want a place where the children arrive and can be ready for school to go into the building that is friendly and open. So we have gotten a greenhouse that is 12 feet by 6 feet. You come in one end of the greenhouse where there is a portable warm water sink. And then there's a little cot and a bench should anybody ever need to be removed from the building. It will be heated. And it will also contain the all-natural, non-toxic, non-chemical spray that does kill coronavirus that we will be spraying children's outerwear and their shoes with. And I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. We're going to be dividing the classrooms into pods, and that is follows the EEC regulations. We have enough space to do that with the appropriate minimum square footage increase to allow for social distancing. And we will have about 4-foot high barriers splitting each of the classrooms. The downstairs will be yellow acorns and red acorns. The upstairs will be yellow pine cones and red pine cones. And there will be a Montessori teacher and an assistant in each of those spaces with each set of 10 children. That is so that we can continue to teach to the standards of the whole child, and not have only the Montessori teacher or only the other teacher, because our assistants are teachers as well. Neither of them will be spending their whole time exclusively disinfecting materials from the shelf as the children use them. They'll be able to share that work and still attend to children in a quality way. Many materials will be individualized. So each child will have a chair that is their chair. It will have a wipeable oilcloth cover on it that has a pocket on the back and their name on it. And in that pocket will be their own water bottle, their own pencil box, their own tissues, and their own spot at a table that is an appropriate distance, or with a plexiglass barrier between them and a friend, so that they can still converse, be social, and minimize transmission opportunities. Do we like having plastic water bottles? Absolutely not. Do we, the whole purpose of being in community, especially in a learning community like ours, which is set up like a family with multi-ages, and all of that is about sharing and helping and interacting. And we're going to just take out some of the things that make it, that increase that unnecessary contact, and so that we can make room for contact that is really supporting their best selves. We will be cleaning and disinfecting all the materials and all the parts of the school. Railings, doorknobs, seats, tables, high traffic areas of all kinds will be cleaned multiple times during the day. There will be a point midday when the entire first floor is out in the 2 areas of the play space, and then the whole classroom will be sanitized to start fresh for the afternoon, and the same will happen when the 2 classes from upstairs are outdoors. So we'll be starting with a fresh, clean slate midday, just the way we do first thing in the morning. And the whole idea of all of this is to safely support the child, the whole child. And we're not talking about making sure they get their math and language, although yes, that's an amazing part of Montessori. It's about having them have a really nurturing school experience for all those other developmental needs that they have. Here's a little visual aid for you. This is actually slightly bigger than the greenhouse that we have, and it is the metal part is stainless steel. It'll be right in front of the barn. It'll have one door, not this double door situation. One door on one end and 12 feet away, door on the other end. And children will come in, they'll wash their hands. We'll do a quick temp check. That's after we're still deciding whether you're going to be doing a temp check in the car. We do find it's really hard for children who are so excited to come to school, who get out of the car and then find out they have to leave and can't stay. So we're trying to figure out how to make the transition, should a child need to skip school that day, as smooth and less disruptive for them. This is our little portable sink. It plugs in and there's a fresh water and a gray water underneath. And it will be warm water because we'll be using the greenhouse clean house all through the winter. And when it's windy and leafy and all the fun New England weather. And this is just a sample of the disposable masks that we've been exploring for young children. And they are, they do have some breathability, but they do make a nice seal, and they have a little wire nose piece. We're looking at a lot of different brands. We would prefer that the children wear disposable ones at school because of all the hands and all the things that happen and licking them and sneezing and coughing and all the things. You want to be able to give them a fresh one when they need it. These are some of the morning checks when you arrive with your child, and we do ask that you know, we limit the number of different people who drop off and pick up. So, you know, as much consistency around that as possible will help to reduce any vulnerability that we have. We're going to look at all the things we always look at. But the fact is that we are in a different time, and we won't maybe say, oh, that's a cough that they've had for 3 weeks and it's nothing. We can't say it's nothing because we're not medical people. So for folks who are going, oh my gosh, because my child definitely has allergies and it's definitely not COVID-19, what we're going to ask is that if you do have symptoms that last, you know, you'll keep your child home when they're sick, period. If a child comes to school and they're extra juicy, or they don't look the right color, or they, even as you saw at the bottom of the screen, if they smell different, sometimes that is the biggest indicator of a child being a little bit off, is their breath, or if they're complaining. So we're going to be looking at all of that and asking you to be super vigilant and super, super caring about the fact that there could be someone else. And there are children and adults who are immunocompromised, either directly in our space or just outside of our space. And we want to take care of each other. So we'll be looking at all of this the way we always have, but there won't be so much of a gray area. It will be, you can't come. But if you go to the doctor and say, look, we know this is allergies. He's been tested. He doesn't have corona. And my doctor is going to write a note that says that that my little pumpkin can come to school because this is an allergy. And they've tested negative for corona. And then we're good to go, because I can't decide that. None of our teachers can make that call. And really, frankly, sometimes as a parent, I can't make that call. So we're going to be relying on everybody to do their very best to pay attention to these things. And we are going to be the second reviewer of your child after you have in the morning. So we have found, no, it's not really magical, but I think it's pretty amazing. I'm going to show you a video, and the video is of the cleaning solution that we will be using for many, many things. It's used in ICUs, and it's used in childcare. It's used in a lot of places now. It was offered and put in place as the go-to EPA-approved early childhood cleaning agent for all of the emergency childcare centers since all of this started. And it's called Force of Nature. I don't know, has anybody ever heard of it before? So I'm going to show you a video about it, and I hope that I will do it right. One moment.
If you're watching,
And here we go. I am learning to do this, and I appreciate your patience. And here it is.
In this video, chances are you're not a chemist, and that's okay, because understanding how force of nature works just comes down to simple science. There are 3, and only 3, ingredients that go into force of nature multi-purpose cleaner, disinfectant, and deodorizer: salt, water, and vinegar. No dyes, fragrances, or additives that can cause irritation, allergies, or trigger asthma. Nope, nada. Not on our watch. Now back to the science bit again. Each salt and water molecule is made up of different elements. You might remember this from middle school. Salt is made of sodium and chloride, and water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. You know, good old H2O. Now here comes the fun part. When you push Force of Nature's start button, it sends an electrical current through the solution that breaks apart the molecules and scrambles up the elements to form 2 new power molecules. Newly formed sodium hydroxide cleans up sticky messes, soap scum, and grime on virtually any surface. And newly formed hypochlorous acid deodorizes and disinfects 99.9% of germs, including staph, MRSA, salmonella, norovirus, and listeria. The best part? It's gentle to use. No hazmat suits, goggles, gloves, or face masks needed. You don't want to scare anyone, do you? Oh wait, the vinegar. Sorry, almost forgot. Vinegar lowers the pH level, or acidity of the solution, so that just the right amounts of sodium hydroxide and hypochlorous acid are created. So there you have it. The secret behind the power of Force of Nature. 3 ordinary ingredients you can actually pronounce, and our patented appliance that jolts them into action. Force of Nature, combining simple science and gentle ingredients for a 99.9% germ-free clean.
What's going on, guys? Taylor here. Today I have a cool new product called Force of Nature. Force of Nature is a all-natural, all-purpose sanitizer and deodorizer. And what makes this...
Oh my gosh. It's been a long day, friends. Here we go. So, Force of Nature, we got it. And when it's hydrolyzed, it actually smells a teeny bit like a saltwater swimming pool. So it's not really chlorine-y, but it does have that other scent to it. If you look up Force of Nature, you'll see a lot of other videos, some of which show a parent or a teacher spraying it on a pacifier and handing the pacifier to a child. I'm not sure I would do that with any substance other than, you know, water. But the point that I'm trying to make is we looked at everything that was possible, and it does kill the SARS-related virus that is coronavirus. And you can spray it on a table, you can touch it, the children can help to clean their spots, which also brings back into play the self-responsibility and the Montessori piece of self-care. So we're really pleased with this, and everyone that I've talked to who's been using it loves it. It doesn't have a residual odor on the surface. It's just pretty amazing. I did run a couple of batches just to see what they look like and smell like and how they clean, and it's just fabulous. I just wanted to share that we're doing that. We have a subscription. We have a unit, a hydrolyzing unit, and a spray bottle for each of our pods, and we are on a subscription, so we'll never run out of sanitizing solution. Like, we don't have those wipes in the supermarket ever that we need right now, and we won't ever have that problem. So that's great. So we're going to be cleaning everything. This is not our school, but it was a good picture because it shows all the places: door jambs and toilets and rest mats and sinks and toys. And actually, we can put Force of Nature on materials. When a child in Montessori takes a work off a shelf and they go and they work with it as long as they want to in the way that they have taught and the way that they choose to work with it in their own creativity, when they put it back on the shelf, they're going to be putting a token on top of it that has a little Buddha child saying, "Please wait." So that means that work is not available until the teacher has cleaned it for the next friend. And that is important because the children need to know where to put things back. It's part of the process of building their executive function. But the message will be very clear that it's not ready until that tag is gone. And the teachers and assistants will be making sure that that everything rotates throughout the classroom. We'll be using individual tables or tables that have either enough distance or a plexi barrier so that the children can be closer together and be working in adjacency with each other and just being able to enjoy the social aspect of being in community. We'll be using the furniture to make different separations, and the materials in one classroom will be there for 2 weeks, and materials on the other side of the same classroom that we've divided into a second pod will be there for 2 weeks. And because we still have co-teachers, they'll be designing the curriculum, making sure that everything is updated, and every 2 weeks, because we have these beautiful rolling Coboard shelves, the entire classroom materials will be switching. So they'll be having access to as many materials as they normally would be in a 20-child environment. So you can see here that children on the left-hand side doing the community artwork have a little space between them. What you can't see is that they would be wearing a mask or that a teacher would be standing by to make sure that they continue to have enough space between them, not only to make their own artwork, but also to just keep themselves to themselves. And always in Montessori, that piece of independent work really serves us well in this situation, because while they may work near each other or 6 feet away from each other, they're working with their independent materials, and that is pretty much Montessori already. So we will be setting up individual spaces. Probably everybody who's been able to tour has seen that we have a reading nook with pillows and all that sort of thing. The pillows will probably be moved, and we will be getting covers for the furniture that are more easily wiped, like that lovely oilcloth we're using for everybody's individual chair pockets. And then these on the right side, the community pods will be divided by these sound absorbing dividers that are low enough for teachers to converse and support each other, but high enough so that the children aren't touching each other. So, I just have to show you this video because I find it amusing and incredibly efficient, and it is a friendly way of demonstrating what we imagine to be able to happen in our clean house greenhouse. So I'm going to do this the way I did before and hopefully do it right. Bear with me, thanks. All right, and go back here and share, and I'll make it full screen.
走着走着，花就开了，在幸福里感受，什么都别说，所有美好的时光渐渐地飘落，一起看四季变换，爱你如从。我们走着走着，花就开了，在清风秋月里望眼着生活，爱你就像一杯茶。 情似一团火，平平淡淡和你守着那执着。
And in they go for a great day at school. And they can hold hands with their teachers. It's just terrific. I'm gonna go back to our presentation. There we go. Okay, and to prepare for illness, you know, the way we talk to each other and the way that what did we already do this? We do have two medical consultants. Okay. Can you tell me what screen you're seeing right now, Ms. Anju?
Communication partnership with
Thank
parent.
you, because I just had a donkey on another video. Of course, the only time we record this, I get the giggles. Okay, so we have two people who are on our staff and are affiliated with this school. Dr. Benjamin Kruskal, who's an infectious disease pediatric specialist, and also Dr. Laura Zucker, who is our regular healthcare consultant. She's a family practitioner who is also on the front lines at Mount Auburn Hospital doing coronavirus testing and treatment. So we relied on them a lot for preparation of this protocol, even before we got the regulations. And as it turns out, we exceed the regulations requirements around sanitizing, around ratios, all of it. We're more than in compliance. We're going to be talking about how we reach out to you if we have a closure. What will happen if there is a case in our school community, either in a family of a child or in a child or a staff person or a family of a staff person. Any one of those combinations may require us to close the school for a day or two and fully sanitize. Our cleaning company will be coming to the school once on a weekend and once in the middle of the week in the evening. So the school is going to be professionally cleaned in addition to our very, very methodical teachers doing their work throughout the day. But you know, we want to let you know that if your child is not well, we're going to ask you to keep them home until they're fully well. And until, you know, if it's a cold, it will go away in 2 days, and then that's what it is. But if it lasts longer, or if the symptoms are lead you or us to suspect that there may be the chance of coronavirus, that of COVID-19, then we'll want you to have it checked out. And we do have a backup plan for staff absences because basically we're planning to be overstaffed, and we're doing that for the safety of the adults and the children in this space. Teachers are not coming to school if they're not well, or if they think they're not well, or if someone in their family is not well, they won't be here. So we're planning for that ahead of time. I think I sort of crossed over with both of these items, but we'll be doing the morning health checks. We will be removing children or adults immediately from the space if they show signs of illness. That's why the clean house is going to be heated. And we will make sure that everybody stays home. And the usual routine at school will be really just we'll be so well trained by August. We aren't opening this summer because we want to have this perfectly nailed down. We want to answer everybody's questions. We want to address all of those concerns. And we want to do that with science and with lots of professional input. So it isn't a call that I'm making or Anju or any of the teachers are making off the top of our heads. We are following a very, very clear rubric of what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And here we are, the end. The greatest development is achieved during the first years of life, and therefore it is then that the greatest care should be taken. And that includes the spiritual embryo of your children, their physical selves, their confidence, their intellect. All of that is it is something that that is our life work here. And Corona just brings it to the fore that we have to address it with great intention. So I'm going to stop sharing this and go back to us. And maybe we could start answering some questions that folks have.
I have a question that's actually not exactly COVID related.
Yeah. Hi, Liz.
Would your school be willing to put a Black Lives Matter sign on their front lawn? We have several.
We bought some. Yeah.
We would be happy to, but we're putting a giant banner on the barn.
Fair enough.
The barn, okay, is it the part that the,
so you also
that the
have,
road can see?
But they also have 111 street access.
So yes, and we'll chat about that after.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Ryan said,
Thanks, Liz, because you know what? It's
Oh,
not-
and she's asleep.
Ryan said hi to
Hi,
Mom.
Ryan. Hi,
Hi.
Miss Marnie?
Hi, sweetie. So many people. It is also, because that's not a conversation we're having right now in this meeting. I just want everyone to know that it is a conversation that is going on at the Taylor School, where we're putting together a statement on our behalf and on behalf of our philosophy and our work with children, and that is coming soon. Our teachers are all having a summer read around active anti-racism, and we've always been a part of a cohort for anti-bias, anti-racist education. So so that's a conversation, an important conversation, just as important as this one. Thanks, Liz. Hey, Essex. So more questions. Let's hear from folks who are thinking about this
I do.
whole.
Marnie. Oh, can you hear me? Is it
Yeah.
good? Okay, unmuted.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Lauren.
I haven't been doing a lot of Zoom, so I don't know what I'm doing. So I was a Montessori assistant back in the day. So hey, assistant.
Yay!
So much of Montessori is small group work. The work, first of all, let me say the work that you guys have put into planning and thinking through is amazing. My brain is spinning of how, my son Austin turns 3 on Monday, and this was going to be a big change for him in terms of learning the Montessori way. Push in your chair, put things back. We try, but it's a little different with mom and dad. Small group teaching, small group learning, how is that going to work in terms of, and the individual seats and all those things? I love the thought that was put into even the materials you're using, but and what's that going to look like also outside on the playground?
So imagine, if you will, that we have a Montessori teacher who is giving lessons, because that's what we do, and perhaps we're doing it on a rug on the floor, and the rugs our fabric rugs are going to be replaced with things that can be wiped down, like oilcloth, and they'll have a lovely hem, and each child will have their own mat so that we're not mixing. But we will have, so there's many independent works. So that would be the predominant modality of teaching, is one-on-one. And that's one of the wonderful things about Montessori, is that very individualized, differentiated education that addresses that single child. But for small group work, where you're giving a lesson to more than one child at a time, they can sit at the far ends of a rug, and we can have a masked teacher between them, a masked and shielded teacher who's wearing PPE. We are not going to be able to enforce social distancing of exactly 6 feet with children at all times. We can't. I'm not going to promise that to anybody, because it's unrealistic in a community of little children. It's just not going to happen. Will they have washed their hands? Will we have screened them and their families? Will all the adults be wearing masks and making sure that the children are not in contact with each other? Some children will be wearing masks. Hopefully more children will be wearing masks than not. But we also can't force children to wear masks, and I think it's inappropriate and traumatic for children to do those kinds of things, especially when you have a little 3-year-old, right? Austin will come, and maybe he'll love wearing like his sushi mask because it's really cool. But it's not you are putting your child into an environment with other children. Outside, our very big space has been made even bigger by the fact that Mr. John, folks who know him, he's my husband, but Mr. John has pulled out all the poison ivy and brambles from the other 1.5 acres of the land that we don't currently have as part of really the active campus. And so there's going to be a lot of trail space. There's going to be a lot of sort of timber nook play where the children can build with branches and be in the woods. And that has always been part of our vision and our curriculum, but it will be more actively set up as a place to go on the property. And our playground is big enough actually for 60 children technically with regulations, but we'll be dividing it in half and making really wonderful, equal but different opportunities on each side of the playground. And then the children will be able to switch sides of the playground on a regular basis to enjoy all of the different activities. It is a lot less risky outdoors. Yeah. And children are running around and they're playing, and it's not recommended that they wear masks when they're exercising and they're moving. So that is a place where we'll be watching. We're not going to have any wrestling matches, although we don't usually anyway. But we'll be talking about all those things. There won't be sandbox the way we used to have it. We will have individual water, and sand play that is separate, and each child will have their own. We will have bikes that we sanitize the handlebars and the seats on after each child uses them. And we'll be adjusting to those kinds of things so that the children can feel, so that all of this work is actually going on not in their faces. It's going to be going on constantly in the background. And they're so adaptable, and they will get the rhythm. When they're done playing with something, they either hand it to a teacher or they put it back where they found it, and our teachers are going to be there making sure that it gets cleaned up and it's ready for the next child. They will be near each other in the classroom, more so, and that is a risk that we cannot remove entirely, and I won't pretend that we can.
So I've got a quick question. First of all, I just want to say, will the doggy still be at school?
Will the doggy be at school? He's going to be in the office, so people will see him, and he is. The jury's out as whether petting a dog can transmit. We're assuming that it can because they're touching things, and we can spray him with force of nature because it's safe.
Well, cats can get it, so I don't know if dogs can get it.
There's a difference between transmission.
But my kids love dogs.
So there's a difference between transmission and propagating the virus.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
And so it's like it can't jump from cross species. And so once it goes to tigers, it transmits to tigers easily, but not back to people.
But if I'm 4 and I go like this, and then I pet the dog, and then my friend pets the dog,
he's gonna get.
I might as well have gone like this on my friend. So we're gonna be watching that.
No, but
So we'll just have to prepare our son for that the dog will be in the office.
Well, he will be, but we can also, Zeke has always been part of the curriculum. So we've always introduced him.
Zeke
given
curriculum.
Well, he's not ready yet. He's so cute.
He's very cute. He just said it. Anyway, so there will be ways that we can make that happen, but it will be very intentional. It won't be sort of random and ambient. So, but Zeke will still be there.
Marnie, I have a question.
Yes.
I think you said that if someone in the Taylor School community is found to have COVID-19, that the school is only closing for 1 day?
No, I'll be more clear about that. So if someone actually in our community has COVID, the pod that individual is part of will need to quarantine. The other pods will be able to continue to come to school. That's why we're breaking them up into individual separate pods where there is no cross-pollination amongst adults and children.
So that means quarantine means 14 days, right?
It does.
For-
If your
for that
child ends up with, yep, that's what will happen.
So the other question I have is, when the experts talk about transmission, they say, like right now restaurants can have outdoor seating and not indoor seating because they say that when you're indoor, the air circulation is more limited, so there's higher chance of the virus concentration in the air increasing. Are you guys doing anything with the ventilation indoors, especially as it gets colder and winter windows start to get closed?
Yes.
Like that.
So we do have our vents cleaned regularly anyway, because we have forced hot air and air conditioning in the building. That's actually, it's the air conditioning system that is forced air. We have baseboard heating. So it's not like it's not blowing air around the space. It radiates from the baseboards in every room. Like I said, the school will be thoroughly professionally cleaned twice a week, and the teachers and assistants will be cleaning the space as well. Are we going to have air cleaners and that sort of thing? We haven't decided that yet. We haven't come up with a plan for having an air cleaner because we're not sure that those are that they're effective. That they might not make things worse. We don't really know about that yet. I can't give you more of an answer than that so far, but do feel free to ask another question in case I can get my mind around that.
Marnie,
I'm sorry, Joy, can I interrupt you for a moment? I think Michael had a question before and we kind of missed her.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, just a quick one. What are the chances the swimming lessons are gonna happen?
They're not, at least not now. Not now.
Okay.
Once we get everybody on the same page and we do some thorough research as to whether that is safe. Also right now, having the children go in a small van, close together with changing clothes and wet towels and all the things that happen there. There's too many variables for us to be able to ensure that everyone is going to be safe and following protocol. So we're going to have to skip swimming, at least for the first half of the year. Sorry. Yeah. Joy.
You have been thinking about this a lot, and I think have a much better, mental picture of what this is going to look like. And so I think one of my concerns is that my son is coming into the school for the first time. He's going to be 2 years, 10 months, 11 months. And I'm just interested in your perspective on psychologically what this experience is going to be like, as these young kids are already having to adapt to preschool, but then also adapt to these weird, social norms. And, do you think, are you in the camp of kids are super resilient, or do you think this is potentially
traumatizing?
Yeah. And how can we?
I can see why. I can see why folks would be worried about that. And the fact is that it is a different time. Children are already having a different experience. They're already seeing people with their faces covered. How strange is that? Especially given that children get just a myriad of tiny, important messages from the subtlest facial expressions. The way that they take in the world as absorbent minds is just so incredibly sensitive. And so that is there. That is true, and I feel for that sentiment. That is something that we're thinking about a lot. How is this going to feel? And we can't even imagine because we're not 3 anymore, and it's more vivid than any of us can imagine what it feels like to be 3. So, or 4, or 5. So the fact is that they are already seeing a lot of this, and to be able to be in community where it is, number one, incredibly well rehearsed, where number 2, it is not coming from a place of fear, but of safety and positive wellness for everyone. They're going to be able to be social in a way that is distant for the most part, and basically the benefits of being with other children, being in a Montessori environment, having all that wonderful outdoor time as well, and all of the social and emotional learning that will still go on in an environment that is very carefully curated to accommodate those feelings, to make sure that the children are getting a hug and a handhold when they need it, just as they would at home. But expanding their world outside of the cocoon at home, that those positives far outweigh the risk of having it a little closer. And if you think about it, the pod idea really does allow for your home bubble, and maybe your home bubble includes grandparents, maybe your home bubble includes the next door neighbors who have children the same exact age. You all know you don't have corona, and you all have decided to make a pod of your own, that your pod is about to grow. Your child's pod will grow by 11 people, 2 teachers and 9 friends. And that is the pod. And if we keep that pod healthy and we follow all our protocols and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing right now with all of this, then it makes your bubble bigger and hopefully safe. And that becomes a new normal. I hate that phrase, but it becomes something that they expect, something that they're comfortable with, something that they can find their footing in and get comfortable, and sort of they will adjust. And we'll be talking about masks, and we'll be talking about those things, and they'll be just regular things. There are a lot of things that we talk about that are sometimes new and uncomfortable for children, whether it's trying to find a way to talk about being anti-racist, or whether it's a way of talking about the differences amongst families. All those things are things that come up that children take in, they get used to them. And I think that if we do things the way we plan to, that we're creating a really unique environment where all of the stuff that we're all afraid of is addressed and managed. And that is our goal. So that the children, it's all happening in the background. And we'll have, we've been looking at face masks that have windows so they can see our mouths, but then we found out that they fog up. And when we're looking at all the minutia so that the children come in and they say, oh, this is how it is now. And I'm so glad to see you. And I still get a hug. And that is, I don't know how else you do it and still be a school and still say that you're serving children.
Right.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Tyler.
I have kind of something that ties into that. Kind of a question or suggestion. Would it be possible to maybe make like a short little visual guide or something about some of the more difficult protocols? Maybe washing hands, wearing a mask, social distance, clean house, greenhouse, so that we can kind of introduce and prep our kids for what to expect.
Yes, absolutely, Tyler. We're going to be doing little orientations, and we'll be able to do that with families outside because it's safer outside, where you'll get to know what's going to happen. Right before school starts, we're going to be, Anju, could you speak to that just for a moment? Because I think that we just talked about that the other day, about our staggered visit in the last.
Yeah, so just like we usually have our parent-child visit, on the last week of August when the teachers are there, so that the new children can come or anybody can come and introduce themselves to the teachers, and teachers gets to know the children. This time we are going to have it as a staggered visit. So we are going to send a sign up genius link for a time slot. So maybe for a 20-minute time slot, there will be 2 families, just 1 adult and a child, and they can sign up with the time slot that's convenient for them. And one of the teachers which child is going to that pod, that teacher will take them for a tour around the school and getting the child to get familiarized with where the bathroom is or where they have to keep their extra clothes, and they can bring their extra clothes, they can put it in the boxes, and that will be a child orientation day with their parent, with the teacher. So we are trying to do it as a staggered visit for a whole day, so that we can fit in almost all the parents, all the families on that day.
So you'll be able to come with Anna and wash your hands in the greenhouse clean house, and smell the spritz, and maybe spritz the teacher's shoes, and try on one of the masks that's there, or one of the shields that we've tried out for children, and just get a feel for it and see where your clothes are going to go. So before, we used to check out where your cubby was, where your cup was, all that stuff. Now you'll find out where your chair is and where all your individual things are. And you'll get to wash your hands in the brand new sink right in front of the barn. And the greenhouse is clear, so you can see each other from the outside and wave. So we're going to make it as friendly as possible, and you'll get to do a walkthrough with your child before the first day of school.
Okay, all right, that sounds excellent. Thanks.
Because I think having it be a video, as we've all learned about Zoom and young children, it's just really it's not a real experience for them, and doing it in person will make a really big difference. How about anybody else so far? Now, yeah, go ahead. I just want to say that this is the beginning of our conversations together. This is not it's early. The greenhouse, clean house is in the driveway, not yet assembled. And we will be pulling out certain materials from the classroom and adding new materials to replace them because they're more friendly to our protocols. And we'll be doing further updates over the whole course of the summer because our teachers are going to be trained over the whole course of the summer. That is why we're taking this extra time, so that when you arrive, we can be a guide, we can be a leader, and we can let you know why we're doing things, how we're doing things, and everyone can get comfortable. Yes, John?
Marnie, is there still going to be an extended day?
Yes.
Kim? Okay.
Yes. And we were talking about it being a little bit shorter, but it really isn't necessary to do that. So extended day will still end at 5:30. And the children who are in extended day, important for folks to know, children who are in extended day will be in extended day in the same pod as the other children in extended day. Because that teacher, our after school teacher, Miss Keisha, who I don't see anymore, but was here earlier, Keisha is our after school director, and she and her assistant will be in the building, but she will be in the pod with our after school children. And they're multiple ages, so it works out beautifully because it's still part of the Montessori philosophy. Also, Anju or I will be here every day until after school is over. One or the other of us will also be in the building to support our after school staff and make sure that we're safe and comfortable with all of this.
Oh, that actually brings up another question that I had. What will be your interaction and Anju's interaction across the different pods?
Good question. We will be in charge of 2 pods each, but not because we'll be involved in those pods on a regular basis, but we are the backup staff for one or the other of the floors of the house. Because we don't want to bring in someone that is not part of the Taylor School bubble, because then you get substitutes that are, and we don't want to have that cross contamination. And because we have so little contact with the children in the classroom directly on a regular basis, when we have our PPE on and we're subbing in the classroom, we'll be fully protected, and it will be a person that we know well and we know is healthy and can get tested before the children are exposed to either one of us. Yeah. It's a lot to take in, isn't it? And it's a lot to trust, and it's a lot to put your children somewhere other than home right now, because home is the safest place, and we're all very used to hunkering down and taking care of each other. And we want to take care of everyone appropriately. There you go. And we want to make sure that everyone feels safe and comfortable. And we also believe in the value of early childhood education, that not having that is a missing piece for children. And not to mention the childcare aspect of it and how essential that is for people to move back into their lives and do what they do best and follow their own professional and personal joys. And that's really important for your children to see too, that you're not afraid to be in the world and to do the things that are meaningful and purposeful for you. So, anybody else have a question? Just for now, we're going to continue to chat. You can email, call anytime about anything. Hi, Ariel. Even if it's, I saw your cat too, it was very cute. Even if it's something that you think is really small, like, oh, can my child wear their own mask to school? It's the only mask that they'll wear. We'll have a conversation about that. I can't answer that right now, but we'll have a conversation about it.
I saw them take, you mentioned spraying shoes. Will they have house shoes? Or?
Oh, yes. Oh, so we always provide slippers.
Okay.
So school always gives slippers to the children because we want them not to light up, glow, or make them fall over when they try to go down the stairs. Also, they have to have a hard bottom. So if we do have like a fire drill, they can step outside in them. So we found that it's easiest to do that. And all of the slippers will be laundered over the weekend. So they're going to have fresh, clean slippers when they come on Mondays. Yeah. And they're cute and they're comfortable. Yeah. Although we have to figure out a way to label them so they don't get mixed up, because, yeah. Anyway, yes, your children will have slippers that they change into, and their shoes will just stay in their bin until they go back outside. Also, the children will go back through the clean house, greenhouse to come back in from outdoor time. So they're going to hit the greenhouse, clean house every time they come into the building. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's right.
Have you given much thought? Let me rephrase that. Of course you have.
Okay.
What are your current thoughts on inclement weather and outside clothes? Are they going to have to send a full set of absolutely everything that's going to live at school for the season?
We would prefer that. And if that is a hardship for any family, we will make sure that it happens. We'll support them. I mean, we had our frog togs from last year that were really great. And we do have a bunch of sets of those here at school. We would recommend that people get them again. But if you have them from last year, you just can leave them at school. I think you guys had a rain suit, right?
We did. It didn't work too well for him, unfortunately. But so I had that in the back of my mind of like needing to provide something, but also specifically winter stuff when you're thinking about, snow boots versus and snow pants and gloves and all the little things of, okay, I'm assuming that you're planning on kids no one's going to be on the playground when we pick up. They're all going to be in their classroom space.
Oh, not
so they're not going to.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about like, oh, it was snowy or rainy and they came home in the rain stuff. How do I get it back if I don't have a backpack?
Right.
And, like just all the little.
Right.
This is what I was saying.
So what we're going to work out those little details, but one thing that comes to my mind, because I like to try to be creative about these things as we go, is that your child should arrive ready for snow or rain with their gear on, and we'll give them a spritz before they go in the building. And then if it gets really messy, yucky, crazy, we'll send it home and we'll give them a spritz when they come back in the same clothes. It's really the same as the clothes that they're going to change every single day. But if we do have something like we have a serious mud problem and we know we want, and it's on a Monday and it's not even near the next day, then we'll probably be able to just throw them in the wash, because we have laundry facilities here. So we'll address those on a case-by-case basis. Because you know we like to get messy here at the Taylor School. So Michael, thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. I know it's late and you've got, some people still have work to do. Some people need to put their feet up. I would encourage the latter. And also I would encourage you to send an email, even as I said, if it's something small, and it only helps us to get better at what we're doing right now. So I appreciate it very much. And if nobody has any more questions, then we can sign off, and then we can get back in touch. We're going to be in touch a lot over the summer, and sending some email to everybody. And if you have concerns and anxieties, please do share them, because you won't be the only one.
Talk to us at those folks